A much needed day off for the San Diego Padres coming off their first road trip of the season. Came back with some bumps and bruises. We'll see how that all checks out on Friday ahead of a visit from the Rockies. And I feel like whether it's at Coors or Petco, it's never quite as straightforward against the Rockies as it should be. Something again about playing against that team. It's never as simple as it would seem to be on paper. So we'll discuss all that, the highs and lows from the road trip, some injury concerns, all of that. First things first, Derek, question for you. Am I to understand that there is a significant anniversary for you today?
Not that I know of. Why?
No? Maybe like a work anniversary for you?
Not that I know
Milestone of some sorts? When did you start?
2005.
2005. Do you remember when in 2005?
God. Oh, tax day.
So we're almost there. So about next week, it'll be the 20-year mark.
Yes, 20. Oh my God, I didn't know where you were going with that. Yes, 20 years. Yes, thank you for knowing something that I didn't even know about myself. I always thought it was funny that I started on tax day. So in 2005, my God, 20 years has been a long time.
20 years. Round of applause for Derek Togerson. 20 years. Incredible.
Thank you. The first, last, and only ovation I will ever receive.
Yeah, I was tipped off by somebody in the newsroom, and wow, 20 years. What a run. Hats off to you. Incredible work. 2 decades.
Thank you. And I don't look a day over 90.
Of service to the NBC7 Sports Wrap team. Been a pleasure sharing 6 of those with you, doing this podcast with you during that time. I've learned a ton.
Has it been 6 years already?
For me, yeah.
Good Lord.
Beginning of 2019.
That seems like yesterday.
Yeah, so 6+ years doing the pod and sharing time with you. It's been a pleasure. And you started right around the time this team went for back-to-back playoff appearances in the last playoff era of Padres baseball. And here they are now trying to do that again. And hopefully 2025 is the year to celebrate your 20th anniversary. They go back-to-back again. That'd be nice to see.
And yeah, that for a while there, it didn't seem like they'd ever get back. That was some slim pickings there, man. But yeah, it's just been nice to be able to cover this team every year except for the inaugural year of Petco Park. So it's that ballpark and I have a lot of history together. It's one of the reasons I love it so much. But yeah, very, very good. Thank you for saying all that and acknowledging that. I do appreciate it. And you make it easy. So it's nice to have a good team.
Some days more than others, I'm sure. First great Padres memory that comes to mind from the last 20 years as I put you on the spot?
Rubbing Joe Musgrove's ears in Citi Field in the clubhouse after the Game 3 of the Wild Card Series in 2022. And then he had some choice words for Buck Showalter and their team. That's one of those more random moments. That and going to Antonio Gates' house, not obviously not the Padres thing, but going to Antonio Gates' house and doing a story on his cars. So that was actually pretty fun too.
Yeah. I would imagine Antonio's got some pretty nice rides.
Yeah. He says you need to have a sedan, a sports car, and like a Range Rover, kind of like an SUV kind of thing. You always have to have one of each of those. So just to make sure you have all your bases covered.
I'm missing, I think, 2 or 3 of those.
Yes, I'm missing all 3 of those.
Yeah, that that's the funny thing about working this job. Like, you obviously remember the great memories. You were on the road with them in 2022. But sometimes, and obviously that was when they clinched that Sunday night game against the Mets. But it's also so many of those random moments. Baseball is full of them. This job is full of them that stick out after all these years. So get a chance to rub Joe's mysteriously glossy ear after he shoved against the Mets to get to the NLDS. It's pretty cool.
And I can confirm there was nothing untoward happening with his lobe. They were pristine.
I'm sure that's also tops the list for Joe Musgrove as his favorite moments of the last 20 years as well.
Oh, no question. It's me touching his ears and then throwing a no-hitter. That's how it ranks.
That's on the Mount Rushmore. So one more round of applause, Derek Togerson. 20 years. Hats off to you. Thanks to OG's, the sponsor of the On Friar podcast. OG should send you like a celebratory pizza, or you eat kind of healthy, like a salad or something like that. Who knows?
Salad would be good, yeah.
Thanks to OGs and all they do for the NBC7 Sports Wrap team, for on Friar as well. Hit up one of their many locations around San Diego County. Check out their great menu. Always enjoy their pizza when we're out there, and an awesome beer list. I know our friend Bernie Wilson, a big fan of the beer list out at OGs. So thanks to OGs for all they do for on Friar. Without further ado, the walk-up music. It is the On Fire podcast. He is Derek Togerson. I am Darnay Tripp. Pleased to be with you on this Thursday afternoon. A much needed day off for Mike Shildt's Padres after scratching and clawing to a 500 road trip, getting that win on Sunday, 2 for 3 in Sacramento. It's still weird to say, against the A's. Bunch of one-run wins. Bullpen's been phenomenal. AJ Cassavell, MLB.com, did a really nice piece about how excellent the bullpen has been. So much to discuss, and some injury concerns that have come out of the back leg of the road trip as well. The Sacramento leg, I couldn't get out of Sacramento fast enough, especially after Tuesday night. A shellacking, and then the Merrill news, the IL, Jake Cronenworth tweaking his groin. I'm sure you've had a groin injury. I know you've had shoulder problems a la Fernando Tatis Jr., which we've discussed in great length a couple 3 years back now. So a mixed bag of sorts. They get a couple losses against the Cubs, look like they're going to get swept, avoid that, and then some bumps and bruises in Sacramento. What do you want to start on? A lot to discuss from the last 6 days or so of Padres baseball.
It really has been. Boy, for the first road trip of the year, there's a lot that went down. Merrill, it's a smart thing to do. As you said, the back leg, quite literally the back leg of Jackson Merrill. Hamstrings, as we know, they're tricky, man. They are tricky. I remember Edgar Martinez one time had a hamstring, and people thought it wouldn't be that bad. He missed like 3 months because he kept trying to come back, too soon, and he was basically DHing almost exclusively. He's playing a little third base at the time still, but I mean, he's a center fielder. And again, when you're 21 years old, 22 years old, about to be, you heal a lot faster than most of us do. But you got to think of it. Listen, you can have him for a couple games here and roll the dice. But you also have to remember, we have 149 games after this game. So don't just give him 2 weeks, give him 3, whatever you need. You're going to need him a hell of a lot more in August, September, October than you do right now. So smart to shut him down. The Cronenworth thing is one kind of fluky things. I have actually torn my groin, which is, I know, the dumbest way possible too. Sliding on I was playing with the kids, sliding on wet grass. I know, it was bad. So I know it's just so stupid. And that's not one that is fun, especially for an infielder. A lot of your lateral movement is, that's right in the middle here. That's your groin, it's all that. So he's, depending on how bad that or severe it is, he might be gone for a little while. Tatis in the shoulder, I think, is the one that worries me the most, although he kind of poo-pooed it, because it is the same shoulder. And surgeries are not foolproof, So if something is going on in there that is the same side, that gives me a lot of worry that that is one of those things that maybe it's loosening up. I don't know, but that's the one that makes me look at it and go, oh God. That could be potentially very, very bad. The other two guys not worried about.
Yeah, Chip Rocks chiming in. Tatis needs to go back to holding onto the bat with both hands during the follow-through, pass this along to the skipper. We can't afford to lose him to the IL. I mean, I believe he's still doing that. I don't think he's abandoned the 2-swing follow-through. Maybe he
goes back and forth with it.
Yeah, not as consistent as he was in 2021 when he was really battling it, but maybe that's just the type of thing he needs to do, like point blank period, for the rest of his career, as long as this continues to creep up. And yeah, I agree. While Merrill with the hamstring and Jake with the groin, worrisome, and you just hope that, it's a week or so at best, the 10-day stint for Merrill, I should say at worst. But with Tatis, given the history, given how familiar it is, I think Shildt said something happened on a slide, and they felt it again on the swing, and those were the instances when we saw him walk off the field. It was after one of those slides. It was after a swing, and you just pray that this is not the type of thing that's going to continue to be an issue. And I like Tatis saying, "Hey, I'm fine. It's not going to be a big deal." Part of me wonders if he's just trying to speak that into existence a little bit, like he's trying to quell those concerns and maybe trying to quiet his own concerns. But there's only so much you can do, like grit and determination. If your shoulder is giving you problems, you can't necessarily just sort of grind through that. Now, I think what Mike Shildt said Wednesday after the game, that Tatis had a good day. He was available off the bench if they needed him. And he felt like both guys were tracking to be available on Friday is certainly encouraging. But we're also talking about the Padres here and the Padres medical staff. And Mike Shildt said, "Hey, we're getting out ahead of a balky leg for Jackson Merrill." And a day later, he's on the 10-day IL.
Right. Optimistic until you can't be.
Yeah. I don't believe anything until I see the guys on the field for like a week. And then I'm like,
I thought you were going to say, I don't believe anything they say.
Well,
which is also not unwarranted, really.
Yeah, I need to see it. And then obviously I think that's probably going to be the first 3 questions that Mike Shildt is asked when he meets with the media Friday afternoon.
I will be there. Yes, I will be out there doing live reports from Petco Park tomorrow as the Rockies come in to start a 3-game sets, followed by the Cubs. Get a chance to get them back, which is going to be very important as well, because if these teams, as we know, if usually you'd say, "Oh, it's early in the season, who gives a darn?" But baseball changed it up a couple of years ago, where head-to-head records, they matter when it comes to tiebreakers and getting in the postseason spots. So if it does come down to Chicago and San Diego for a wild card spot, this series coming up is absolutely going to matter. So they'll have to be focused up on that one. But it'll be, I'm sure the health of the guys, which usually does come up with Shildt, and really haven't had to have much of it. And that was the thing. They got through spring training, aside from Darvish, they got through so healthy. It was great. Like, there was nobody really of note that you had to worry about. And then the first week of the season, everything's clicking, everything's fine, everybody's great. There's no major issue. And then in one day, it's like all hell breaks loose. Yeah. Just going, man, when it rains, it pours. But I agree with you completely with the Tatis thing, because the other 2 guys, they're not threatened with surgery. A hamstring, you're not getting cut on. A groin, you're not getting cut on. You're going to be okay. If you've already had the surgery and it's the same spot, that's when you go, okay, it's a shoulder. It's not, a muscle will heal. Shoulder's got a lot of stuff going on in there. You got tendons and ligaments and cuffs and all kinds of things. Labrums, there's a lot that can possibly be injured in that area. So that's where you look at it and go, man, that's scary. But if he is available, that'll be quite lovely. And still, though, for about another week or 2, every time he comes to the plate, people can kind of be holding their breath just a little bit, thinking, I don't want to see him, collapse in pain on a check swing again.
No. And hopefully it's just a gentle reminder, like what Chip Rocks had to say. Hold on to the bat with both hands. Let's just do that, and I'm sure I've never been in this position, but I would imagine you get healthy, you feel strong. Maybe you're a little bit more lax with some of those things that you feel like you had to do to protect yourself when you were really going through it and battling it. Maybe he just kind of needs to hold on to that, that technique and literally onto the bat. From here going forward. The slide, that's tough. Things are going to happen in the outfield. Things are going to happen on the base paths that you can't control quite as much.
It happened to Ohtani in the World Series last year on a slide.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm wondering, it's not a coincidence that Toddy hits one about 7,000 miles the night before and then comes out.
No way that was only 406 feet, by the way.
Yeah, sure it was. Yeah, that the tariffs are taking off about 90 feet from that one. It's maybe the next day he comes out and tries to hit one a little further, because he saw the 406. It. And I wonder in the back of my head if he was like, I'll show you 406, kiss my rear. And he's maybe ramping up a little too much. I could see it. Like, I could see, and I wouldn't blame him, honestly.
Yeah.
Like maybe ramping a little too much torque in that one, trying to hit it a little bit farther the next time. I guess, do they not, I know it's a minor league park, but do they not have StatCast there? Do they not?
They do.
Like,
Maybe it's not as precise, but I had Savant open and I was looking at that stuff, and as soon as he hit that homer, just out of curiosity, I was like, I want to see what the damage was. And I think everybody was surprised. I think Dennis Lin tweeted, Tatis said that was cap. It was cap
yeah.
that it was only 406, and I think all of
Mhm.
us agree that there was more length to that than whatever was measured at Sutter Health Park or
Yeah.
whatever it's called. It was about 2 years almost to the day from one of the moonshots that he hit in 2023 on rehab, I guess, when he wasn't able to play during his suspension, but could play minor league games ramping up.
Yep.
So it's a ballpark he's familiar with. Hitting nukes there is nothing new. And
Oh, by the way,
hopefully
remember that pitcher, the Cade something or other?
McClune, because
Cade
somebody
McClure. Cade McClure. Yeah.
McClure,
Do
yes.
you know what he's doing now?
I actually just looked that up, and
Yeah.
he's coaching, right?
Yeah, he's a pitching coordinator for Kent State University.
There you go.
So the fighting Julian Edelman's. It's that's hey, I guess he wants to say call somebody a cheater. Look where they're both going now. So Toddy wins again.
Because he was in the Giants organization, every so often I would Google him to see where he was, just in case the Giants are in town and he's like a random call up or something like that. But I don't think he ever broke through. So
yeah, he went to the Pirates organization, was demoted to Double-A Altoona, and then said, I'm going to hang him up.
Yeah.
So go and started his coaching career. And well, more power to him. Go expand some young minds and help out some young careers, because his didn't pan out.
No.
But that's I remember talking before the StatCast era, when Mike Piazza had the 1 year here with the Padres. He hit one. He was almost the first guy to hit one on the very top of the Western Metal Supply building. I mean, it missed it by probably 4 feet, and it clanged off a window up there. And they said it was like 402. And I went, whoa. I talked to Mike afterwards. I'm like, hey, they said that was like 402. He's like, they said, what? No, how do they measure these things? Like, what is? And the way they used to do it was they from home plate, they took like a laser and they put it, and they bounced it off of different areas around Petco Park. This is for every ballpark, Arizona, San Francisco, whatever it was. And whatever it came, the laser measurer they'd use like for construction projects, whatever it came back to that seat, they would then mark it on a chart. So then there'd be a guy up in the control room who would see where a ball lands, and he'd look at the chart and like, okay, well, landed here. That's about 3 rows behind this one. That's 381. So we'll call it 389. Why
sure.
not? And that's literally how they used to measure these home runs before StatCast came along, gave us actual like math and lasers and 3D imaging and all this kind of stuff. So this is supposed to be avoided with modern technology, where guys are getting shorted with these mammoth home runs.
Yeah, well, again, I'm sure the minor league ballpark has something to do with that. I'm sure they're once in their new home in Vegas. I'm sure the numbers will be spot on. But by the
way, I demand at that ballpark, whenever there's a home run up on the screen, it's a slot machine, and the numbers roll and it lands on like 406. If they don't do that, then John Fisher needs to just get out of baseball, period, because they're writing it for you.
Launch angle, exit velocity, total distance, something along those lines. I think that's a great idea.
Any 100 of casinos will sponsor that. Bam, money. And it looks cool. You can do the sound effect with it.
And then maybe you have like a magic number each game. And so if you hit 389 or whatever it is, somebody wins a prize or something like that.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. You can like make it like a 50-50 raffle where this is the number of the game, and you can try and buy that number, rid for whatever it is. Raise some money for charity that way. Do something.
Maybe we need to go into marketing and promotions for the Sacramento Athletics.
Oh God, baseball in Vegas is going to be wild. There's so much you can do with that.
Yeah. Anyway, so getting back to the Padres, getting away from the A's by all means, which I think we are all very pleased with. Let's get that series, at least that visit, in the rear view.
And thank God it wasn't in August, man. Remember, I grew up around that area, and we were playing ball in like August. Oh my God, it was just sweltering, awful, terrible. The ball flew like crazy. Somebody's going to hit 50 bombs. Brett Rooker's going to hit 50 in that ballpark this year.
Yeah,
it's going to be crazy.
They probably would have taken the sweltering heat coming off of what they experienced in Chicago, though.
Yeah, seriously. I would take that over cold any day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise. Likewise. So they get back to Petco Friday. Got the Rockies. We'll see what happens with Crone and Tatis. We'll see what kind of update we can get from Jackson Merrill. In terms of Brando's modern life is chime in. Can't wait to determine by the launch angle and exit velocity what the distance would most likely be on a home run. We should do that for Tatis's home run. Yeah. Exactly. We should get a tape measure and find like an exact distance because
then we have to also take into account barometric pressure and what the wind was doing. There's the temperature, like where there's a lot that we can't. I mean, I'm sure we could probably look at weather.com or something like that and figure all that out. But there is an equation that would get us closer than 406. If we just like went out there and walked step by step 1, 2, we get closer than 406.
Yeah, I think so. So Padres come out with the series against the A's, an identity game, so to speak, on Sunday. Grit Squad showed up, coming back from down 7-3 to get that win. There's been, plenty to like, I think, from the last week, in spite of kind of the up and down performances. Even Vasquez, on Friday against Chicago didn't give up a whole lot. It's just he didn't get a whole lot of run support, and then comes back and turns in a really nice 5-inning, 1-run performance. He's got like a 1.7 something ERA. He's been good.
He's got to cut the walks down, man. The walks are killing me. The walks are way up.
Yeah, he goes back and forth. He'll have innings where he just cruises, super efficient, and then he'll get himself into some trouble.
Yep.
Maybe just part of being a young pitcher, but like it appears the bones are there for a guy that could be a significant piece of your rotation for a long time.
Oh yeah. What I don't get is 7 games at Petco Park. They threw 63 innings and walked 21 hitters. It's 1 walk every 3 innings as a pitching staff. It was pretty good. They went to Wrigley Field, and I don't know if the mound is screwed up there or something's wonky or what happened, but in 24 innings, they walked 23 hitters. So 25 innings, they walked 23 hitters. And I'm like, what is going on? It's the same guys, the same pitch. There's no reason for that. And they go up to Sacramento, and it's back to being a pretty good walk rate. It's that one. Was it the cold? Was it the environment? Was it the mound? I don't know. But something really weird happened at Wrigley Field that hopefully we never have to see again.
Yeah, it could be the cold. That would maybe make sense. But yeah, encouraging, at least from the standpoint of Randy Vasquez and what he's done for you so far this season, especially when, Michael King's been up and down, Dylan Cease's been a little bit up and down, Kyle Hart, certainly, Vasquez, for the most part, been fairly steady throughout. Offensively, Luis Suarez coming to life a little bit. What I like is, Manny Machado through 13 games, 340 with a 900 OPS. Xander Bogaerts coming off, a 3-hit day on Wednesday, hitting 304, 780 OPS. Like, hey, if you've got that version of Xander Bogaerts, not necessarily like peak Silver Slugger, haven't quite seen the power yet, but that's not going to hurt you. That's going to do some good things. And maybe it's just Manny coming off the injury last year. Obviously, Xander Bogaerts, you're kind of waiting for him to come around. It's been good to see just like a normal good start for Manny Machado. He's not hitting the cover off the ball necessarily, but he's been a very good version of Manny Machado. And same for Xander Bogaerts, especially for a guy that you can tell like it weighs on him when he's struggling. To have an encouraging start, to have a game like that where he's responsible for both the runs, 3 hits, doing some good things, that hopefully that kind of builds upon itself and he's able to turn in a good season. I would be concerned if he stumbled out of the gates and then that's in his head and he's trying to kind of rally and get it going like he was last year.
Yeah, Manny traditionally, especially with the Padres, he's been a slower starter. He's hitting 340 with a 900 OPS. So assuming this is not going to be a year where he just does a complete reversal, where he gets off to a really good start and then is garbage in the middle of the year, if he's going to still hit his stride, look the hell out for what Manny's going to do this year.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then Xander is, it's nice to see Xander. I mean, just getting on base, getting some confidence. Last year, at the beginning of the year, he was hitting singles, but they were a lot of soft singles. His contact is better right now, which gives me hope.
Yeah.
Again, he's a guy who, with the Padres, got off to a wonderful start that first month, his first year here. And then it was injuries. Everything kind of went haywire on him. Last year, terrible start, and then had to figure things out after the shoulder injury and got a lot better down the stretch. If he's off to a good start here and can continue, just carry this through. Maybe not hitting 300 to 304, but carry it through 290 with an 810 OPS would be that would, I think, justify the contract for Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah. Yeah, and they need it. They need it bad, and I think he needs it. You'd feel good for him if he was able to kind of recapture some of the Boston Red Sox form. And yeah, obviously it would do a lot of good for the team. Cronenworth doing some good things as well. I mean, Gavin Sheets has been great. Martin Maldonado, I think
where'd that come from?
All expected to be kind of bemoaning the state of the catcher spot in the Padres lineup, and that has not been the case. And Maldonado's been a very, very pleasant surprise. When we went into the season with a lot of concern about what like 7, 8, 9 would look like, and some of that has borne itself out, but that hasn't been because of Martin Maldonado and at points Elias Diaz.
Yeah, Jason Hayward even had 2 knocks. Down with that. The one guy right now who I would say really needs to leave is Yuli Gurriel.
Yeah,
he's not even taking good at bats. Like you're trying to tell me that a guy who really has no defensive position who's hitting like this, Connor Joe can't come do this? Another right-handed bat is a Gurriel. I never understood it. I didn't understand why they were so high on him to make the roster. Don't like the guy as a guy. It's just. I don't understand that one. I really don't. And I don't imagine he's long for this club.
Yeah, it would be it would be strange if he was at this rate. Yeah, just hard to imagine when, like you said, there are options, as you mentioned, Connor Joe. I do think, if there is a silver lining to Jackson Merrill hitting the IL, like, hey, good to see Oscar Gonzalez come up and contribute as well and get some early big league hacks for the Padres, since he didn't break camp with the team. And so good to see him around as well. To be interesting to see how that outfield spot plays out. I mean, you figure Jason Hayward, who got out to a slow start, has probably a pretty long leash given his stature in the game, given what he can do defensively, clubhouse impact, all of those things.
And he's been very good with the glove.
Yeah, exactly. But the Brandon Lockridge role, Oscar Gonzalez, those guys, Lockridge clearly there for his defensive versatility and his speed. Does there come a point where they maybe need a little bit more offensive upside, and does Oscar Gonzalez factor in at that point?
Yeah, you'd have to hope so. I mean, I think at this point, anything to keep Jose Iglesias from having to go play left field again. That was a bit of a circus. And again, he'd never done it before. You put a guy out there in a spot he's never been before, you're going to get some interesting routes on baseballs. But again, that's another thing. I'll bring up Connor Joe again. Like, he can play that position and play it pretty well. Brandon Lockridge probably should have been out there. Oscar Gonzalez probably good. He's a guy who can. I think that was a game that he got there in the middle of the game, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he wasn't even eligible to do that, but. They've got the lefty righty thing with if Hayward's going to stick around, so you can, unless there's another left-handed outfielder somewhere they can find to bring in, or on the somebody's looking for a trade or something like that. This is probably what you've got. And again, Oscar Gonzalez had a great spring, and he got a couple of knocks on Wednesday. And he's a guy who has had a track record of really good success, a short track record, but he had some really good success with Cleveland a couple of years back. I would love to see him getting some more at-bats, see if you can tap into that potential that you saw in Cleveland, by the way, when he had the same hitting coach, when he was doing some pretty good things. So I'd like to see that play out a little bit.
I think back to Chip Rocks, I think a thought a lot of us have had: Gavin Sheets needs to be in the lineup no matter who is pitching. Yuli needs to be DFA'd and bring up Connor Joe.
Yeah. Amen.
At what point does Gavin Sheets do enough that you're not just playing him against righties? Now, not helping his cause, he is 0 for 3 so far this season against lefties with 3 strikeouts. very small sample size. But I think it's going to take him proving it before they give him that opportunity. But it's what we saw to an extent with Jackson Merrill last year. Gave him a chance to play every day, no matter who they're facing. And next thing you know, he's hitting walk-offs off Mason Miller. So we'll see what happens there. But I think all of us would probably be on board with more Gavin Sheets and less Yuli Gurriel, given the way things have gone so far, and just the spark that Gavin Sheets has provided. He did it on opening day, the winning sack fly on Wednesday. Like, he's good in big spots. He's been good in high leverage situations, particularly when he's in the DH role and he's not playing in the field. He does good things for a ball club, and I would like to see him get that opportunity more often and play the matchups a little bit less, because I don't know how much playing the matchups is really benefiting you to this point as it pertains to Yuli Gurriel.
Yeah, and it's a feeling out process, because you got to see what all these guys have, and the Padres are learning that Yuli Gurriel has nothing left in the tank. What Gavin Sheets gives you is he gives you professional at-bats. Go back to the 5th inning on Wednesday. They needed somebody to bring in Xander Bogaerts from third base. What does Gavin Sheets do? Hit one, more than deep enough to center field to bring in the run. It's the productive out thing, and that turned out to be the game-winning run. So he understands the situation, he understands the assignment, and he is going to give you a chance to have a professional at-bat and have good things happen for your ball club, which I don't see that's a skill that maybe doesn't show up in box scores. It's not an OPS kind of thing, but it's productive, and it helps your ball club out, and it shows that you're a team guy, and that gets everybody else on board doing the same kinds of things. So I've loved just the at bats that Gavin Sheets has taken. They've been by and large really, really good. And as you know, he's not a small dude, man. If he gets those arms extended and gets into one, that ball is going to go a long way. So having that left-handed power potential in the lineup that he seems to hopefully be tapping into, I like that a lot.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think
just like seventh. I mean, if he's your 7 hitter, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. I think they had to move him up a little bit because of some of the injuries and that sort of thing. But ideally, that's where he is in the lineup. And you're right. I saw somebody tweet, I forget who it was. It was early on in the season, the first week or so. And it was like Gavin Sheets. I wish I could remember who tweeted this, but it was like Gavin Sheets is who we thought. Chest moss, Luke Voit
was right.
Because it took Voit. I mean, one of my memories of Luke Voit is him striking out and then just like the loudest F-bomb picked up by the broadcast microphones.
There was a lot also coming back from the pandemic when there were only like 10,000 people in the stands.
It was 22. It was 22.
Was it in 22?
It was 22.
When he did the F-bomb?
Yeah, because
it was all the way back.
Yeah, it was all the way back.
Before Eric Hosmer forced him out of town.
Yes, exactly.
That was the 22 trade deadline. I mean, he was 21 when he got here. I would, if there were like 10, 12,000 people in stands, I could totally see him being hurt like that. But if it was in a full stadium, then I don't remember that.
And like he had some moments and the power came around a little bit. And I think everybody would have been happy to see him stick around through 2022 and that playoff run and everything.
He was a fun dude to be around. He really was.
He was a fun dude to be around. And I'm excited to see what Gavin Sheets' ceiling is, because just having like a thumper in the lineup. I feel like while you have Tatis, while you have Machado, they haven't had many guys like that. And especially, like you said, swinging from the left side, I think could be really, really useful. Alfredo wants to see Tirso as well. I think we're all rooting for that to happen at some point. And so, I'm interested to see how kind of that outfield mix shakes out through the course of the season. Jason Hayward also isn't young. Like, you could certainly see like a hammy or something creeping up and getting him at some point at 35 years old. So they've got some depth there, which is really encouraging. But I think big picture, like this team, it feels very much, I don't know if you disagree, but just a continuation of the 2024 regular season. Just with the
Yeah.
way they've gone about their
Mhm.
business, with the way they've won games, the bullpen being as good as it has, which I think is like the best sign you could have for this team when there have been such stark differences from one playoff year to the next. Now, 2021 got off to a good start after 2020. But I think that's like, to me, the most encouraging sign of all is like, it seems like what got them through last year into the playoffs, what made them one of the best teams in baseball, really the best team in baseball the second half. We're seeing more of that. And here they stand, at least after Wednesday, with the best record in baseball.
Yeah, they doubled down on it. And that was really so nice to see. Is that it's not one of those. It wasn't one of those special years where everything just kind of happens.
Mm.
When you see it come back the next year, and they're doing the exact same thing, and the bullpen is lights out, and thit's winning close games, and they're coming from behind, and they're stringing hits together, and really just extending innings. You're like, okay, this is what this organization is, and it's what we did not see at all under Bob Melvin. It was, go out there, be a superstar, hit your bombs. The bomb will come at some point, right? This club is like, no, we don't know if the bomb's coming, so keep on hitting until it does, which just seems to make all the sense in the world to me. Maybe I'm being overly simplistic here, but it's great that ethos is carried over, because it's now like it's taken root. Like that's what this team is. What this franchise is. Not just oh wow, 24 was a magical season. Maybe they can't replicate it.
Yeah. And that was kind of, didn't Joe say something along those lines? Like in 2022 felt like a bit of a flash in the pan, whereas 2024 felt like this is who we are.
Yes.
And now it's continuing on. And I did have some fear that, like, before they brought back Jurickson Profar, or certainly after he left, like, maybe he comes back down to earth if they re-sign him. Jackson Merrill, what's it like for him his second season? His second season is off to a spectacular start. Fernando Tatis Jr. before the injury. You see what he's done. Manny Machado, we talked about him. Xander Bogaerts. Because there was definitely, like, you could definitely, squint and see a possibility where Jackson comes back to earth a little bit. Machado struggles, Xander struggles, and you're kind of treading water like they did for the first 100 games of last year. And that has not been the case by any stretch of the imagination. And you're like, okay, this is real. And this is a team that looks, again, early indications, though, that they'll be right there battling the Dodgers. If not for the division, certainly once October rolls around.
And how about Mike Shildt? Darnay, we've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about how good of a second half manager he is. And he was that way in St. Louis. He was obviously that way last year in San Diego. If they're playing this well to start a season, how much better are they going to be when they truly do get to Shilty time? And they hit that stride after the All-Star break and go on some sort of a tear. But that is, literally happened every single year he has been a manager. So that's, if they have a little buffer zone before that even starts, that's a really nice sign. And by the way, I was looking up some stuff on Jackson Merrill. Last year, he had 24 home runs, right? This year, he has 3 homers, and he hit his 3rd homer in game number 10. Last year, he hit homer number 3 in game number 41. So and that's when it kind of clicked for him. So if he hit 24 and he's got number 3 31 games ahead of time this year, we're talking about a 30, 35 home run season from a 22-year-old. That's stupid. Like that's incredible that what this kid is able to do and how much better he continues to get.
Yeah. Home run rate last year was 4. It's 7.3 this year. And again, that's 4% after things had kind of clicked for him. So if you go, to this point this year, to this point last year, it's even more lopsided. How about this strikeout rate last year, 17%? Strikeout rate this year, 17.1%. So
guys punching out too much, man. He's got to change.
Pretty consistent there. Walk rate has gone from 4.9 to 7.3. Exit velocity up a few ticks. Hard hit rate up a few ticks. Line drive rate up a few ticks.
What's his chase rate? You got that in front of you?
No, I will. I'm looking at reference. I'll look at Savant. But you're seeing some, I shouldn't say subtle improvement. You're seeing him continue to take a step, consistent where he needs to be consistent, and continuing to grow. Chase rate is 33%. So, higher than you would want it to be.
How's it compared to last year?
And last year, it was 34.4 last year and 33.9. So in the same neighborhood, slightly better.
So since he's not chasing balls out of the strike zone any more often or any less often than last year, if his walk rate is almost doubled, teams have learned, don't challenge this guy. You know, I'd assume that his in the strike zone swing rate is probably fairly similar. I mean, he goes after a lot of first pitches. He's ready to attack very early on in counts. So if it gets to a point where they're gonna walk him, they're gonna walk him. He's not seeing them go outside the strike zone more and going outside the strike zone more with him. He's taking his walks, which is a really good sign because eventually teams are going to have to do one of two things: either A, keep walking him, or B, think, well, shoot, he's not doing that. Now we have to get in the zone again on him.
This is pretty remarkable. His zone swing rate last year, 80%, 80.0. His zone swing rate this year, 80.0.
Yep. That's who he is, man. You throw that guy something in the strike zone, he is going to come after you.
Zone contact went from 85 and change to 89 and change. We talked about chase rate. Chase contact up a couple ticks. First pitch swing rate almost identical. Swing rate, from 56.9 to 58.3. Whiff rate is down nearly 4%. Meatball swing rate. How about this? Meatball swing rate from 90.3 last year to 100. So, like you said, if you're going to challenge him, he will do his darndest to make you pay, which is
yes, he will. And odds are, if you throw something that close to the middle of the plate, it's not going to end well for you.
No, as we've seen early and often this season. So that's interesting. Just the consistency there for a young guy, where it could very easily have dramatic swings one way or another. It hammers home why he's been as good as he has been early in his career, and why he's been able to start as well as he has this year, because he's found his approach. He's found his way of going about his business. He's stuck to that, and as he should, because the results have been really good. And I think he's even talked about that in just kind of avoiding some of those slumps. Just like, I'm going to do what I've been doing, and I'm going to stick to that. And it's impressive, somebody as young as he is, to have that sort of discipline, and just to kind of stick what's gotten him to this point. And yeah, I'm sure it's easy to chase. Like, if I do this a little bit better, or maybe I change this or change that. He's like, no, I got my thing, and I'm gonna stick to my thing, because look where it's gotten me to this point in my career.
Well, the one thing he did change a little bit this year, if you looked at the batting stance metrics they have now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, those are actually fascinating. They really are. He's closed up his stance, because I eyeball tested that. I thought this was the case, and I went and looked it up. But he's actually closed his stance a little bit and narrowed his feet. Narrowed his feet like 5 inches, I want to say, something like that. But he was a little bit more open last year, and he's closed that to be almost completely neutral with the pitcher now, if not maybe just a tad closed. When we saw him getting into trouble last year, his front hip would come open just a little bit too soon, and that would cause him to, come off of balls, whatever it may be. I think he saw that and then just closed up just a little bit. And now that front hip stays locked a lot longer. And that has helped. I think that's helping him a lot more get off to a nice quick start that he has this year, because there is so much efficiency in his swing. He doesn't have a lot of levers. He doesn't have a lot of moving parts. He has a great move to the baseball. He's very compact and efficient with his swing. So he's a guy who can tinker with his foundation a little bit, see if he can maybe get, maybe add a little more of a leg kick at some point in his career, do something a little bit different down there, because his hands are so good and so quick and so efficient in getting to the swing path that he's going to be a guy who can stick with that, or even tinker a little bit here and there, and never really fully fall off and get into a slump.
Yeah. Dude's super impressive. Hopefully that hamstring heals up nicely and he's back out there doing his thing. I mentioned the AJ Cassavell piece. Again, check that out.
On the bullpen, yeah.
Yeah, he had a great line that it makes sense when you read it, having watched this team, but hadn't necessarily dawned on me. No Padres relief pitcher has entered a game the Padres were leading, then relinquished that lead. That is a sign of a very, very good bullpen. And Craig Counsell and Mark Kotze, their perspective as well, feeling like the game shortens up on you, and both them feeling the pressure to get runs against the starter and maybe some of the complementary pieces in the bullpen, not necessarily the 7, 8, 9 guys, because once you get to Marjon, Estrada, Adam, Suarez, lights out. Like you're not going to get much going against those guys. And so again, one of the concerns going into this season, losing Tanner Scott, of course, losing him to the Dodgers. I'm sure you'll run into him at some point and he'll be a headache. But there has not been any sort of drop off in terms of those top guys. And I guess forget what Robert Suarez ever does during the spring. The numbers can be disastrous, but he gets locked in once the season rolls around. And, as I'm sure everybody knows by now, first Padres pitcher to go scoreless through his first 6 appearances. He's been every bit of Robert Suarez.
And we said that after spring training, getting into the season, we're like, listen, when the lights come on, Robert Suarez, he's tinkering, he's screwing things up, he's getting his work in. The Cactus League numbers mean nothing when it comes to Robert Suarez. That's just who the guy is. He's been fantastic. What the Padres have is an 8th inning guy and 3 closers. There's Marjon being the 8th inning guy who's being used in the 7th inning, the 6th inning. And then you got Estrada and Adam, who both have the stuff to be closers, throwing the 7th and 8th innings. And you got one of the top 3 closers in the game actually closing. So what that bullpen, the back end has done has just been tremendous. Wandy Peralta has been great.
Yeah.
We didn't see this from Wandy at all last year. Like, this is the guy that they went out and got from the signing him away from the Yankees. He's been really good. Yuki Masui had the one hiccup with the Sacramento home run, but he's been really good, covering some things. Alec Jacob has been fantastic. If Logan Gillespie can remember how to not balk, he was instrumental in one of those games in eating 4 innings after Kyle Hart was just disastrous to start the game. He ate 4 innings and gave them a chance to get back into it without having to use a full-blown bullpen day. Omar Cruz has been really, really good. So they've got so many options and ways that they can go with this. It's just been awesome. It's been awesome to see how these guys have stepped up and not missed Tanner Scott literally at all. It's just great to see.
Yeah, they all seem to really like each other and have kind of slotted into their various roles. And I think one of the hallmarks of Mike Shildt is, hey, like whatever the game calls for, whatever the situation calls for, there seems to be a flexibility and adaptability with those guys as well, to the situation and the circumstances and whatever the team needs. And it's been an incredible formula and a huge part of their success to this point in the season. Thoughts on what's ahead? Like you mentioned the Cubs series, obviously the Rockies, like, I don't know, and then you go on the road, you got the Astros, you got the Tigers after that. Maybe like a sneaky important stretch here, like not letting the Rockies be a trap weekend. And then, as you said, like projecting ahead as the season goes on, wanting to kind of do some damage against the Cubs, a team that, like, when we think about the playoffs and that sort of thing, that's going to come to mind as well.
Yeah, the Rockies, remember, I will never forget, man, it was 2021 and then 2023. The Rockies, you couldn't beat them and you missed the playoffs. In 23, you couldn't beat the Diamondbacks and you missed the playoffs. You got to win your division games, man. You've got to win, especially division games against the only bad team in the entire division. You cannot give these games away because you're not focused. You think it's gonna be an easy day or whatever. And you're right, Buddy Black, man. Whatever it is, he gets those guys ready to play the Padres. You cannot allow this. You don't have to sweep them, but you can't lose the series. You just cannot lose the series. That's just end of discussion. Take 2 out of 3 and move about your day, and just remind the Rockies that they're not a good team. Don't be that, like when Georgia lets McNeese State hang around until the middle of the 4th quarter before finally blowing them out. You can't do that because you're giving that other team confidence they might be able to do something later on. You got to just take them, put them in their place, and let it be.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Giants because, the other day Padres were at 8-3, sitting in 3rd place in the NL West. They're at Yankee Stadium this weekend. They're at Citizens Bank Park for 4 straight early next week. Then they visit the surprising Angels. then 4 straight against the Brewers, 3 against the Rangers, and then 2 at Petco Park. And so a challenging stretch ahead for the Giants, which might let us know how legit they are. And then, how about of all the teams that you expected to be in the mix, the top 3, the one that everybody assumed would be there. And if you look at the projections, a team that a lot of people expected to finish ahead of the Padres, the Diamondbacks, they've won 2 straight. So they're back above 500 at 7-6. So, I mean, if what we're seeing from the Giants is real, I mean, NOS is going to be, murder's row all season long.
Yeah, the Giants, what they're doing now is not sustainable. Can they have a winning record? Can they be a factor? Sure. But the Diamondbacks their roster is so much better. They will eventually right the ship and over time elevate themselves above the Giants. The Padres, the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks are the 3 sustainable teams in the National League West. Now, the Giants are much better than I thought they were going to be, but they won't. I would be very surprised if they'd be a factor even into September when you're talking about a team that can, stay in the playoff hunt like that.
A couple more comments before we go. I have this funny feeling that David Peralta is going to get a phone call from AJ sometime this summer. I wouldn't object. He was clutch.
I wouldn't object. Is he not signed yet?
I'm checking TikTok to see what David Peralta's been up to.
Is he big on TikTok?
He's great on TikTok. There's some good stuff out of the clubhouse last year. I don't believe he's been signed. I think he's still on the market, and very curious that they wouldn't bring him back at some point. I would love to know what's happened with those conversations, because he seemed like an absolute no-brainer and was just a great fit.
That'd be awesome. It'd be like, I wonder why it's taking so long the guy, he was great last year. He's a wonderful clubhouse presence. Is it simply he just wants to be somewhere and he's not getting an offer? He's not getting the kind of money he wants? It's got to be up from his end, right, at this point, because you got to figure teams have called asking about David Peralta's availability. They have to have. I would imagine give Jackson Merrill a nice long extension. It's maybe the Padres have a little more money to play around with than people thought they did. If they have a chance to go out and get a guy like that, why would you not? He was really, really good last year. Fits in here perfectly. Can play both corner outfield spots. It gives you that left-handed bat we're talking about. It makes a heck of a lot of sense. A heck of a lot of sense. He's not as good defensively as Jason Hayward is, but he's better at pretty much everything else than Yuli Gurriel is. So it's, I don't, unless you're looking for $10 million a year, which he's not going to get. I don't know what the deal is with David Peralta.
He's been posting some videos of rec league soccer games. Now, not of him playing, but, do with that information what you will. Speaking of Jay Hay, from Gustavo, hey guys, what do you think about Jay Hay's time with the team? I think AC said he wouldn't be surprised if he wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't see May 1st. Interesting. Thanks for all your work and input. He's felt like a guy who will just be around, but unless things are really
unless there's better options. Yeah, he keeps doing what he's doing at the plate, which is not. His swing looks so bad right now. He's all tied up. It's mechanical. It's like all the feel and athleticism has been taken out of it, which is weird because he's a hell of an athlete. Mm-hmm. You look at him in the outfield, he moves like a dude, like he could play in the NBA. He's an incredible athlete, and his swing is just so bogged down with all these different levers, and he can't get his hands loosened up. I don't know what it is. It's just weird. It's just weird watching him in the batter's box right now. What I'm hoping we're not seeing is Yuli Gurriel and Jason Hayward being Nelson Cruz and Matt Carpenter. That's what I hope we're not seeing. I would love to much rather see, the Donovan Solano, David Peralta types of additions. If we can do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. I've always thought that Jason Hayward's bat looks short.
Well, it's because he's 6'5". He's a lot the bat.
So I was just looking. He uses a 34-inch bat, which is the same length that Fernando Tatis Jr. uses. I don't know. Can we bump that up to 36, 37? For years, whenever I saw him swing, I feel like his bat is too short. This is my expert insight.
He really is. But also, I've never understood why he's got his hands
it could be a mechanical thing,
cocked and locked back here. It's like whenever I've seen him do it, it's when you pull back like this, but then your load doesn't get to a more a better hitting position. It's almost like he's here and then coming farther back. So you can just do that right now with you can feel the tension through the middle of through your chest, where it's like, that doesn't feel like you can fire to get to the strike zone. You know, like it's all muscle, which he's got plenty of. He's a big, strong dude, going to be a good one. But it's like there's no fluidity to the swing where he can't get his hands loose and let him ride. You know, it's weird that he kind of just ties himself up so much back in here, where even getting just a little bit, maybe a little bit up here, just a little bit, you know, loosen up, get the hands here. That way you can get the ball, get to the hitting zone a little bit better. You know, that's what Gavin Sheets did. You know, Gavin Sheets has his hands more or less in the same spot, but he was squatting in the batter's box. So when he got to the Padres, when Victor Martinez, they stood him up.
Straight up, yeah.
Right, he's much more up, but then that's also a more athletic position because you're not taking all this. He's not putting all this weight down into his legs. He can now get to a hitting position a lot easier and unleash that natural power that he has. You know, it just takes a little tweak sometimes to unlock a guy.
I thought that Sheets, his setup looks a lot like Cody Bellinger. It's very quiet at the top, but very just straight up, bat high, and just ready. But then when they load, there's a lot of power there.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, man. You look up pictures of any decent hitter at the point of contact, and I guarantee you every single one of them will look exactly the same. The difference is how they get there. And everybody's kinesiology and body mechanics, they're all different. So everybody has to find out the best way for them to get to that hitting area. Like Mike Trout is very efficient. It's here, doing boom, right here. Whereas then you have a guy like Cal Ripken Jr., who had 53 different stances throughout his career, won MVPs using a couple different of them. It doesn't matter if he was doing this thing or this or whatever it was. If you look at the point of contact at any year in Cal Ripken's career, it's exactly the same. You just have to figure out how to get to that point. And right now, Jason Hayward can't get to that point.
Yeah. This is the expertise and insight that comes with 20 years covering the Padres for NBC7. Congratulations again to you, Derek. Thank you for your 2 decades of service. It's been a pleasure, and hope you have a terrific weekend. Same to everybody out there. Thanks for those in the chat. Always great having you with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.